I love to watch people maximize their purpose and produce results.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Sharing Passion and Purpose podcast. My name is Nancy Moore, and I am the host of this weekly podcast that provides career and creative inspiration to help you build a passionate and purpose-filled life. You'll hear from guests that will help you tap into your creative potential, pursue a career with passion, and build on your biggest and best resource, yourself. I'm excited to have you join this conversation. I'm so happy you're here. Let's get started. With a background in business and executive coaching, Dr. Wendy Shirk is passionate about assisting others in maximizing their full potential. She knows firsthand it takes commitment to show up for yourself and do the work. But what's waiting for you on the other side can be a better, stronger version of yourself. During this episode, you'll learn more about Wendy's background, as well as get to know her on a personal level as she opens up about her personal journey of healing from trauma she experienced during childhood, as well as the recent loss of her mother. And as a breast cancer survivor, she provides thoughts and insight on her own journey of healing during Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Anyone who has suffered from trauma and/or loss will be able to relate to her testament and the importance of seeking support and taking the proper time to grieve. In the end, you'll admire her tenacity for refusing to bury the hurt and take the proper steps to walk through the healing process. And as a coach herself, she is ready to walk alongside you in your journey, whatever that may be, to maximize yourself, your potential, and your life. So here's my conversation with Dr. Wendy Shirk. Just a quick word about my upcoming event before we get started. Okay, the Conversations with Passion and Purpose live podcast event is only a few weeks away. The next one is Friday, November 8th, and there are still a few tickets left. My guest will be Carissa Miller, founder and CEO of Carissa Miller Design Co. In only 8 years, Carissa has successfully created and scaled a multi-million-dollar interior design business using the power of social media. Although she doesn't have any formal training in this area, that didn't stop her. To give you an idea of her talent, she has been nominated for HGTV's Designer of the Year 3 times, and her work has been featured in national publications. If you have a dream in your heart and want to take action, this event is for you. She will share the details of building her business and encourage women to push through the fear and do it scared. You can purchase tickets directly through my website, sharingpassionandpurpose.com. If you're in the Tulsa area, I would love to see you there. And now on to the episode. Dr. Wendy Shirk, I am so excited to have you on the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you, Nancy. I'm excited to be here.
I'll tell you, this is kind of a testament to networking. I found you through Lisa Bain, who I've had on the podcast. I've interviewed her several times and got to know you through social media, was so impressed by what I was seeing and reached out, and you agreed to do the podcast. Yeah. And it's funny because in the meantime, I started following Mindy Linscomb. Am I saying her name right? Okay,
Mindy Wallace Linscomb.
Yes, and really liked her a lot. Well, then there was an opportunity to attend an event in Florida for Christian business women, and Mindy is leading it with another person. And I just recently was telling you I signed up for it, and you said,
I'm going too.
I'm so excited
I'm
about
so
that.
excited because we're going to be best friends after that.
I
It's
know.
going to be so great.
I know. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And so anyway, we just have so much to talk about. I have admired you from afar, so it'll be fun to kind of get to know you a little bit better myself and then also my listeners. But let's just start out by having you share a little bit more about yourself.
That's great. Thanks so much, Nancy. I'm excited to be here. Yeah, I come from the educational world. I am a trained teacher in business communications and taught for many years. I started at Oklahoma State as a TA and then went to TCC for about 10 years when my kids were young. And then I landed at Oral Roberts University in the late 90s. And I had a great track record there teaching communication classes and business classes. I loved my teaching. And then later I became a dean of the College of Arts and Cultural Studies, which was a thrill for me to get to go to the, highest levels of where I ever saw myself with education. But the neat thing is that I started a consulting company in the late 90s because I wanted to have an outlet for me to actually do the things that I was teaching my students to do. And it made me feel so good that I was out there in business and industry and I was doing HR management. I was working with people with their communication skills and with their business practices. And it just made me feel so good to be out in the community doing that. And my dean gave me permission to do it at the time. I went through him and made sure it was okay. But what that ended up doing is bringing real world experience to my classrooms. And my students loved it. They were like, "Oh, Dr. Shirk, this is so fun because we're learning through your experiences more than really the theory that you're teaching us through the textbooks." But then I also found that my clients really enjoyed getting to have more theory and getting to have more of those things that I knew because I had gone through the highest educational level, that I brought a lot of theory into what I did with my clients as well. So I would be spouting off the, Skinner's behavioral theory and operant conditioning and all of the things, or I'd be talking about Hertzberg's motivation theory or whatever it might be. And we were able to bring those theories into the workplace. So I found that that was a great marriage of talents. And I got to use a lot of my seniors in some of the needs assessments and projects that I did for companies. And that gave them internship experience. And they were able to work through my company, Shirk Consulting. And it was just a great marriage of two different worlds that came together.
That's really cool. So maybe tell us a little bit about that, more about that entrepreneurial side in that business, because you are a coach. And is that how Shirk Consulting is executive coaching and then
business consulting?
Okay.
Yeah. It really started with the business consulting because I worked with a lot of dentists and dental professionals like orthodontists, periodontists, endodontists, all the dentists. And then I also worked with veterinarians with VCA Animal Hospitals. That's a publicly traded company both in Colorado and in Oklahoma. So I kind of had this niche with the medical practice. And then I just recently worked at Tulsa Plastic Surgery and we retired out Dr. Miller, who I believe in very much. But I had this experience with practice management consulting because my dad had done that. And he's a licensed professional counselor. And somehow he had that weird niche in Tulsa and no one else was doing it. So when he retired, he turned that over to me. And then I was able to gain clients on my own after that because my brand was different than his. I was not a licensed therapist. But while I was consulting and doing that on a weekly basis, the coaching really came out of that naturally. Because my clients would say, "Well, how do I talk to my wife about this?" Or what should I do with the next phase of my business? Or how do I have better boundaries with my team? And so the life coaching and executive coaching was just a natural offshoot of the consulting. So really the consulting came first. Then I did a bunch of coaching and I didn't have any formal training in it because, as you know, anybody can call themselves a coach these days and it's not a regulated field. So when I did step out of my deanship in 2013 from ORU and went right back into my consulting, I went right back into dental consulting and worked with a couple of practices and did the things I had done before and realized I didn't really want to do that much anymore. So I wanted to do more coaching and I thought, I want to have the formal training. I don't want to just call myself a coach because I've done it naturally, but I actually want to be formally trained. And that's when I went through the CCE or Center of Credentialing and Education, the same organization that handles licenses for licensed therapists. And I went through their program to become a board certified coach, because someday when this field is regulated, right now it's the wild, wild west and anybody can call themselves a coach. But once it is regulated, that'll be grandfathered in. So that made me feel a lot better to become board certified. I was really lucky because I snuck in there with all my other classmates were licensed therapists. So normally that's a track for people who already have a license. But in my case, I snuck in there because of my doctorate. And so that was a loophole that they allowed me to start the program because of that. So I was really glad to get that formal training. I learned a few things, and I think I'm still true to my brand in that my executive coaching that I do with C-suite leaders and entrepreneurs is very much characterized as the business niche. So I really go toward the executive coaching more than the life coaching, even though I am certified in both.
Okay. Oh, thanks for clarifying that. So what do you enjoy about that aspect of your business?
The coaching?
Yes.
I love it so much because I love to watch people maximize their purpose and produce results. I think I'm naturally gifted toward helping people do that. I think it's a God-given gift. My faith is so important to me, and I think I have a God-given gift that also was instilled by my mother, who had the same gift, and that is that I'm able to truly connect to people's essence or the way that they were actually designed to be. And I tend to be able to see people through how God sees them. I'm certainly not God by any means, but I think I tend to be able to see people's spark and see what's the true greatness within each individual, because we all have that. And I think I'm good at helping people discover their sweet spot. And that's something that pays off in consulting and it pays off in coaching, because gosh, if we work in our sweet spots, we never feel like we're at work. And we're so much more effectual in everything we do. And that's why that maximizing purpose, like what is your true purpose? How are you going to maximize that? Because I believe in stewardship of not only finances, but also our gifts. So how are you going to steward what God has given you? We don't all get the same gifts. And so often I would wish that I had the gift of mercy, for instance, but it never shows up on any spiritual gifts inventory I take. I think I show mercy in other ways, but that's not my spiritual gift. And that's okay. I know myself and I know my sweet spot. And that sweet spot, if I can share what that means to me, is if you think of two axes, the horizontal axis and the vertical. The horizontal axis is like all the experiences you have. Your education, your marital status, how long have you been married, or if you have been married, your kids, all the things the good things that have happened to you and the bad things that have happened to you, all of your experiences and your personality, your Enneagram, your DISC, all those things. That's the horizontal axis. The vertical axis is your spiritual side, which is really should be completely integrated with everything else, in my opinion. But that spiritual axis, the vertical, is your true God-given essence, your true God-given gifts. And where those two axes meet is your sweet spot. So if you can stay in your sweet spot every day, like you are, Nancy, that's what you do, right? You stay in your sweet spot. It's a beautiful place to be, because life is much easier when we're in that obedience stream and where we're just making a huge difference because we're exactly where God wants us to be.
I pray that I'm where I need to be almost daily to be guided and to have the conversations. But I right now feel like this is exactly where I need to be, with the podcast. And
you're so good at it.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it.
And see, if I tried to do it, I would be in fear all the time. It would not.
You're great on social media.
It would not be my thing.
Okay.
On social media, I am just totally myself, as you can see, and it's not always pretty, but I am authentic. That is something I'm known for.
Yeah. And I like that. That's great, the way it comes across.
I think I shared with you that I've been off of social media for several months
Yes.
after my mother's passing, because I just needed time to grieve. And I did exactly what I tell my clients to do, and that is go through it. Don't go around it. When you have to go through hard places, when you have to grieve, take the time you need. And I did. And it was best that I stayed off social media for a while, because I think I had compassion fatigue. And it was just a time for God and for me to do the healing we needed to do during that time. You know, a mother-daughter relationship is so complicated and yet so lovely. And I had the best of mothers. And so I needed time, and I took the time. And I'm so thankful I got to take the time. My clients understood. I, kept my clients I have had for a long time, and didn't open my funnel during that time to new clients. But it was a beautiful time for me, just with God.
Good. I'm so glad you shared that. Thank you for sharing that about your mother. I wasn't going to say anything because I had missed you for a while on social media, but I completely understand that. And sometimes you have to just step back for yourself and your own mental health. And so it's great that you did that, but I'm glad to see you slowly getting back out there, because I think that's one way that people are able to connect.
Yes.
That's how I initially connected with you.
That's so fascinating to me, because, you put out social content and you think, this is so dumb. Nobody's going to watch it or listen to it.
I think
but you're so sweet.
Yeah. I enjoy what you have to say. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to share some of that about the grieving process, because so many people go through it, whether you're grieving a marriage, or you're grieving a parent, or you're grieving the loss of your health, or whatever it might be. We all go through grief.
Oh, yeah. And it's healthier to go through it. And so many times people do things to go around it and try to bury it and cover it up. But I think that comes out eventually. So for you to just take the time that you needed is great. Yeah, I'm glad that you did that. So just for people to get to know you a little bit better, what would you say is your superpower?
Oh, wow. My superpower. I would say my superpower definitely comes through my faith and, my belief in God and Jesus Christ. I think that without him, I'm powerless, to be honest. So in addition to, I think just what I said before about being able to connect with people essence to essence, it's like I can almost see you as your little girl self right now, Nancy, and how you were made to be. And if I were spending time with a young man or an older man, I would be able to see his little boy self. And I know that that's a gift from God that I didn't fabricate, but I've honed that skill, that superpower. I think since I was a young girl, I knew my purpose. And I think that came out with just my parents, my dad being a therapist, my mom being a teacher, but also just an incredible cheerleader. I think so much of what I am and my superpowers in life, are definitely given to them. But I'd like to add one more thing, and this is a little bit hard to share because it's vulnerable, but I think the last 3 years, I have a new superpower, and that is that I'm in a recovery community with Celebrate Recovery at my church, Battle Creek, and that has really changed my life. So many people think that Celebrate Recovery is for addicts, and only 30% of the people there have problems with alcohol or drugs. In my case, it was, and again, this is kind of personal, but I really want to share it. It was really due to extreme anxiety, but also body dysmorphia and some issues I had from a childhood rape I had when I was 10 that then gave me huge body issues and, eating disorder and all of that kind of stuff, which happens to so many women who've been through abuse. And I finally got tired of it 3 years ago. Here I am, 58. So what was I, 55 at the time? I think I finally just said, you know what, God, I've never really let you help me in this area. It's time. And so I really surrendered to him in a whole different way. And I joined Celebrate Recovery, and I have found my people, because these are people who are transparent. These are people who operate as the body of Christ should, but doesn't so much of the time, people who keep confidences, and people who love you in spite of who you really are, and everything hangs out and people know who you are and they still love you, and they even love you more because you're so transparent. So I really believe that's my other superpower. And I wasn't planning to share that at all today, but I'm glad I did, because I think it was supposed to be shared.
Without a doubt, if you're saying it, yeah, it was supposed to be shared. Thank you for sharing that. That was a big leap for you to come out, but I feel like that you're meant to share that because somebody who is listening to this will hear it, and they were meant to hear this.
Yeah. And what's funny is I lead the Hurts and Hangups group, but my husband, who has given me permission to share this, leads the men's codependency group. So he's there to learn about codependency, which most men will never talk about at all. But, that desire to please, that others will look at you favorably, to make decisions that way, to say yes when you should say no. He's learned so much in recovery too. And I think our marriage of 37 years is better than it's ever been, partly because we're just in that complete, honest place. And it's just a wonderful place to be.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So I just recently, actually, I'll just share with you, on Sunday, I got baptized at Battle Creek.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And my son did it. And so I haven't really told anybody about it. So
okay,
you're
I'm
sharing,
crying
so
now.
I'm going to share. But when you said that about Battle Creek, I thought it's really a special place. An absolutely incredible group of people. It's a large church. There are satellite campuses.
And it's online too.
Yeah. And now they have an app.
Yes, they do. And it's really wonderful.
Yeah.
It's so easy to pray for people or get prayer any time of the day or night. And I just open it up whenever I have a few minutes and try to pray for as many people as I can. And that church has meant a lot to me. And we went to Israel with Pastor Alex and Meredith, and I've seen the way they really are when they're real people, and they're fantastic friends.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think I know some other people we'll have to talk later who went to Israel on that same trip. But anyway, okay. Well, you've obviously experienced a lot in your life because it's October, and I do want to share about you also being a breast cancer survivor.
Yes.
So that's pretty amazing. So I don't know if you want to share a little bit, just a little bit about your journey.
Sure.
To bring about awareness to this.
Yeah, I'd be glad to share that, Nancy. I got that call it's 5.5 years ago that I got the call on, it was right on Valentine's Day, actually, got the call that, oh, Wendy, after your biopsy, which I'd had several other times and thought nothing of it. I just thought, oh, I have dense breasts and I'll never get cancer. I'm one of those people, I never think it's going to happen to me. And it did. So I got that call on Valentine's Day. And then on April Fool's Day, April 1st, I had the surgery. I'd already had a 2-week trip planned to the beach. So I went there and cried it out on the beach every day when I was, communing with God and friends and my husband. But yeah, I got that call. So I had invasive ductal carcinoma and opted for a double mastectomy with reconstruction, but later developed pain and intolerance to the implants and had them removed. So I had 4 surgeries altogether, and that 4th surgery I went ahead and had them removed and went flat, like my husband had suggested from the very beginning, because he's just that awesome. But I wasn't ready to let go of that. So I buy my breasts on Amazon, and okay. And I've learned how to deal with it all. It's not easy at all, but boy, did I learn a lot through that time. And I know my husband did as well. He took early retirement from Baker Hughes after being there for over 30 years, 35 years, I think, and said, I'll join your company and life is short. Let's enjoy being together more. And so we started working together, and he, joined me, and he's doing a lot of really neat things now for Shirk Consulting. But yeah, it was life-changing. And I think it was for my grown kids as well. I have a son and a daughter, and they're both married, have 3 grandchildren who I adore. And life just really gets real when you face your mortality and you know that life could be very short. We don't know. We just don't know how long we have. And that kind of goes back to that stewardship model that I've always followed, but probably do a lot more now after breast cancer. That, hey, I just want to make every day count. And if this day is my last, I'm fine with that because I live life large and with the people I really want to live it with. So, yeah, thanks for asking.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because I know there's a lot of people going through that struggle right now and have faced a cancer diagnosis. And it's great to hear from people who are survivors and going through, and who knows, because I mentioned I'm at Monroe, and there's a group of women there, and they say knockers.
Yeah, and knitted knockers,
the
right?
Knocker knitters.
Yes.
They call themselves the knocker knitters. And so they have breast inserts that are soft.
I've worn them.
Okay.
I've worn them, and I've given money to that organization, the national organization, because I believe in what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you're there and that you get to see them using their talents for others, because most of us have somebody in our life who is a warrior, survivor, and my pink sisters need the love. And a lot of times we're kind of forgotten after the initial surgeries when the cancer is eradicated because, oh, well, you're fine now, but there are so many other things like dealing with the implants or dealing with going flat or dealing with the how do I dress in a bathing suit, those kinds of things. But also just the concern every single year when we go to our oncologist twice a year, wondering if it's going to come back. It's in the minds of all of us, whether we say it is or not, because we know it could come back. And then for those of us who are hormone positive breast cancer survivors, we have to take, an awful pill for. Some people only have to take it 5 years. I have to take it for 10. And it's just really crappy, makes you feel pretty horrible. But nobody talks about those things. So, there you go.
And you look so great, and you have such a glow about you. So I would not ever have known that. And to be honest, to my listeners, when I sat down, I had, my pre-written questions, and then you said something about having breast cancer. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's October. We got to, if you'll share. And
yes.
you thankfully said that you would.
Yes.
Because that wasn't even on my radar. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to move on because there are so many questions and we have a limited amount of time. But in your practice, there was a list of special interests that you had, and you did talk about things where you have consulted with people, a niche, in the past. There are 4 different things that I wanted to highlight that are special interests of yours personally. So that must mean that you not only enjoy talking about them, but you have added insight. But it's discovering God-given design and purpose, maximizing purpose and producing results, creating balance, and proactive living. Mm-hmm. And I'd like for you can just lump them all together, but what you specifically like about these areas, and kind of maybe an example of how you've helped somebody in this area.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to that sweet spot I was talking about too, because that encompasses so much more than just purpose, but your true personality and all of your experiences. God doesn't waste a thing you've been through. So a lot of people will say, oh, I can't help people because I've gone through this or I've gone through that. The truth is that if you really learn how to grab all of those experiences, good and bad, and put them in like a curated life. I'm a curator of my life, and this museum called Wendy Shirk is getting older. So I've got more in my museum than I had before, because I don't really believe in that I'm a sage on the stage. I think I'm a guide on the side. And that's as a special brand of coaching that I have is kind of a mix of mentoring and I get down and dirty with my clients. I mean, we get really real, really fast. And I think I'm known for rapid growth with my clients. Now, I can't make them grow. They have to grow themselves. But the people who are attracted to my brand are people who are ready, set, go. Like, I am ready to do this. I do a lot of brand creation I'm not a branding expert. I have people to do that. But as far as helping entrepreneurs start profit businesses as well as nonprofit businesses, we're really good at that. That's a sweet spot we have in Shirk Consulting. I can talk to an entrepreneur, and within a month, they have their brand established. They know exactly what their sweet spot is. They have their logo package finished with my designer. They have their web copy written and off to the designer, and it's done in another 2 weeks. And their socials and financials are up and running. So I think that so often in this space of consulting and executive coaching, people want to take your money. And those coaches that do that, where they take it almost too slow, that would drive me crazy if I were paying for it. So I always use the golden rule with how I treat my clients. I always give them a little extra, not a little less. And, heck, I still charge what I charged 15 years ago because I'm just in it for higher reasons right now. So, and I never take a client on who I couldn't be friends with, and they all become friends. And I love that place in life right now. But I love seeing the light bulbs go off in my clients' eyes as they discover who they really are and how God is going to use all the good and bad to make it part of their story. And when they learn to take the yuck and put it into the light and bring it to the light, they realize it's their greatest hook. So, I've worked with clients who are disabled. I've worked with clients who are stutterers. I've worked with clients who the world would say they have nothing to offer. But just like Nick Wojcik, who spoke at, the 94X Summit last year when I spoke as well, he has no arms and no legs. But look at the guy. Look at his influence in the world. So your greatest detriment can be your greatest hook if you learn how to make it so and how to curate your life.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. You do see things from a different perspective.
Do I? See, it's just me, but yeah. I think it is a little different.
Yeah.
I had the privilege of getting to write their curriculum for their coach certification program as well as their leadership program. So I got to be involved with that from the beginning, and they've got a good thing going there to bring faith into business. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I admire that so much. I think that is a component that is needed. Mm-hmm. And so many people think that as well, because I think the 94X movement, and you guys check it out if you don't know what we're talking about, because it's all over online and social media. But and
you can find their programs under 94xuniversity.com.
Okay.
That's where they have their programs listed.
Okay. And I didn't
online.
know you had a hand in that.
Yeah.
I knew you were a speaker. Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay. So is there anything else you'd like to mention?
Well, I think shout out to my rock, my Steve, who I've been married to 37 years. And he and we've been through a lot together, but boy, we just are very proud of what God's done through our life. And our kids are just doing great. Tyler married Erin a lot of years ago, and they have 2 wonderful daughters who are 3 and 1, Robin and Sylvie. And then our precious daughter, Holly, married Jesse Pandian, and they were high school sweethearts, but he didn't really notice her before because she was the age of his little sister. And then when our son got married, he said, "Oh, she's a woman. I think I want to date her." And so they've been together ever since college. They went to ORU together. Okay. But they have little Noah. So that's my pride and joy, is just my kids and my grandkids and what they are becoming as adults. It's great to see.
That's so neat. I'm sure glad I asked you about that, because you've sent me, I can't remember what it was, but you sent me the cutest picture of your 3 grandkids, and I know how proud you are of them. And so, I think it's wonderful that you're able to be so involved.
Oh, yeah,
because you're able to structure your business around even watching the
right.
grandkids.
We watch them
sometimes.
every Friday, all 3 of them.
So if you'll share with people, because I do have listeners that are in other states and other areas, just share with people kind of how you work, if it's in person, if people could, reach out to you online, and just a little, bit about that.
I have clients all over the U.S. and even in Kenya, and I love to use Zoom as a mode to be able to do coaching. So I'm available there. My website is shirkconsulting.com, and my online school is called the Maximizer Institute, and that's where I have a Maximizer speech coaching program, and I'm going to be dropping a mentorship program pretty soon. So that's kind of fun, and that's a great community to find. That's all part of Shirk Consulting. So if you find that, you'll see my social also on Facebook and on Insta. So I'm under Shirk Consulting. So I primarily work, I would say it's about 60-40 now with Zoom, because people just seem to prefer it. And of course, it's easier for people all over the U.S. Mm-hmm. But I do have, we used to have an office. When Steve decided to come home from working full-time at Baker Hughes, I couldn't handle him up in my space at home very well. So I did take an office for a while. And then I finally moved at home just a while ago after being there a couple years. So I do work out of my home. So I do have clients that come to my home sometimes, or I go to their businesses when I do the consulting or the coaching. So it's kind of 60-40. A lot of people like the Zoom now. It works out pretty well with people's schedules. And I'm available 3 days a week on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays. And that's how I do it on the hour.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for asking.
If you'll talk a little bit more about Maximizer University, is that a component that people who, are able to do online on their own time?
Yeah.
If you'll just share a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's under themaximizerinstitute.com, or you can also find it through Shirk Consulting. I have a page on my website as well. But it's just, it's using the Teachable platform, but it's an online course, and it has a series of videos, real easy, with a certificate at the end. And it's just a really easy way to learn public speaking. And that's what I taught for many years in the business and communication departments at ORU. And I've done that also privately with so many clients through the years, whether they're engineers, lawyers, doctors. I've worked with so many different people in different sectors, and I've worked with over 70 companies also, by the way. But I think I have a niche for teaching public speaking because I suffer with anxiety so much that I can help people kind of find their hook and know how to use their true God-given talents in a way that, with some simple techniques, I can completely eliminate filler words in one session, that kind of thing. So I got a little bit tired of teaching my private clients the same material all, over and over and over, because I had done it in my, teaching career for so many years. I kind of got tired of hearing myself talk. So that's the reason I put down the videos, and I used a professional videographer. I used Seagull Cinema, and they did a great job with those videos. So I just am speaking from my office most of the time, but then I also have some video of when I did it in front of a live studio audience so that my online students could see me doing it, with actual audience members as well. So I teach the technique. It's not teleprompter reading or anything like that. That's easy. You just put it on a teleprompter and read, and you can look totally vivacious and perfect. But what I teach is the technique of having a piece of notes, on your podium, and knowing how to look up often, and how to have correct vocals, and how to have variety in your pitch rate and volume, and have interest in what you're sharing. So I think my techniques are very proven. I've done them with so many people, and I have a lot of advanced techniques as well that I share on those videos. They're short. They're between 7 minutes and 15 minutes each, and there's a series of 10 videos. But thank you for asking about that. I'm excited. And people who have gone through the program say that they'll never have to have speech coaching again. Once they have the videos, they can have them for life. And they may go back and re-up, some of their learning here and there. But once the techniques are taught, you can pretty much put a full-length presentation together in about 15 minutes if you've first done the research on your topic, that you can pull it together that quickly. And I'm a testament to that, because if I'm told, like I would be told by the president, I need you to talk about thus and so to this huge student body, and I'll be given 15 minutes to put it together, I can quickly put a presentation together and think on my feet. So it makes it pretty easy just to know the introduction has 3 points to it, to attention getter, credibility statement, a central idea, main point 1, 2, 3 with the proper connectives, and then your conclusion always has the same elements as well, and that's restating the central idea, giving some kind of application statement, and then a clincher at the end. So once you learn those techniques, you can replicate them over and over.
Okay, I think I need to take your class. I'm more ad lib.
There you go. But that's good too.
Gosh.
That's good too. But it's only $297. So it's,
okay.
And I'd be glad to give a coupon to any of your listeners, Sharing Passion and Purpose 20.
Yep. Okay. Perfect. Okay. I hope you guys take advantage of that, because that's a big fear of people is public speaking.
Did you know it's the number one fear is glossophobia, or the fear of public speaking? That if you look at the Gallup poll or other polling organizations, it's the number one fear, followed by the fear of death. So it's like Jerry Seinfeld says, it's always better to be in the casket than delivering the eulogy.
Oh my gosh, that's a riot. Yeah. Oh, I can see that. I mean, I can absolutely see that.
Yep.
Okay. Well, yeah. So people sign up for this. Get over that fear. Step out of that. Get over that. Well, so in wrapping up, this has just been such a great conversation, and I appreciate you sharing so much of what you didn't even think you were going to share. But I know you and I know that I think that with our faith, God directed that conversation. Totally. You shared what you need to, and now I know it'll definitely help somebody.
I'm excited.
For sure.
That's great. That's all I care about. That it'll help somebody.
Yeah. And I think it also helps you getting it out there. And
it does, because when you're transparent about stuff, good or bad, it brings it to the light. And when it's in the light, God can deal with it. It's when it's in the dark recesses of your mind that it becomes so much bigger than it ever needs to be, and it has power over you that's not good power. Mm-hmm. So give it to God, let Him deal with it. And that by doing it like this and talking about things, it truly helps you out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe the same. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay. Well, my last question that I'll ask as we wrap up is, my theme is grow more in 2024. And so I'm wondering how you are growing either personally or professionally.
Oh, that's a good question. I'm always reading self-help stuff, but I'm also always reading novels, and I love to read. I love to go on vacation. Steve and I retreat often to the beach in Cancun and to the mountains in Colorado. So I believe in retreating, and that's what's exciting to get to know you better in Florida in the upcoming weeks. But I'm just excited that my life will always be one known for growth, because I always have a growth mindset. And, I believe that you have to get your car out of park, and it has to be at least in neutral, better than to be in park, but it needs to be in drive. We always need to be driving. We always need to be malleable and movable with God at the wheel. Mm-hmm. Jesus, take the wheel. Mm-hmm. But I think that I'm always moving. I'm always open to what God wants. I'm always open to new friendships and new relationships, instead of being complacent with the wonderful ones I already have. I'm always open. And also, I don't think that highly of myself. Like I know that all my good things are because of Him who lives in me. So I don't take myself too seriously either. And I think that's a growth mindset too, is just being willing to be your true self that God made you to be, silly and all. Just have fun. Have fun in life.
Okay, great words.
Yeah.
We'll wrap up with that. Thank you, Dr. Wendy Shirk.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I appreciate you being here. And don't forget to connect with me on social media. Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn are at Sharing Passion and Purpose, and Twitter is at Passion Sharing. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.